I want you to help me welcome the members of the cast and the creative team behind Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because they saved the world a lot. So, first up, we have David Greenwalt. I believe, yes. He's a writer, director, and producer on Buffy and a co-creator of Angel. His other TV credits include the cult favorite Prophet, which he co-created. There's David Greenwalt. Next, Amber Benson is next. Played Tara Maclay, the ill-fated lesbian witch. She joined the series in season 4, also a talented filmmaker whose credits include the Ghosts of Albion animated series, and she has created comic books including Dark Horse's Willow and Tara. Now, Seth Green. Willow's first true love, Oz the werewolf. Next, Charisma Carpenter. Cordelia Chase for 7 years, 3 on Buffy and 4 on Angel. She also was Kendall Casablancas on one of Joss Whedon's favorite shows, Veronica Mars. Please welcome Charisma. Next, I'll bring back Marti Noxon, the lady with a parking ticket. It's like, she's also produced such TV shows as Angel, Grey's Anatomy, and Private Practice, and so we'll welcome her back. And next, Michelle Trachtenberg joined Buffy in season 5 as Dawn Summers, Buffy's otherworldly sister. Just made news this week because she's about to join the cast of Gossip Girl, guys. Please welcome Michelle Trachtenberg. And next we have Emma Caulfield, the hilariously blunt and bunny-phobic vengeance demon Anya. She was also Brandon Walsh's girlfriend in the original Beverly Hills 90210 and starred in the 2003 feature Darkness Falls as Emma, now James Marsters. Yeah. Literally just off the plane from Mexico City. The tortured platinum blonde Spike. Joss Whedon once said he can go from Dracula to Jack Benny in a heartbeat, and so he could. Next, Nicholas Brendon. Xander Harris, wisecracking charter member of the Scooby Gang. Now he has a recurring role on Criminal Minds, guys. That's Nicholas. And I believe we are now to Sarah Michelle Gellar. 7 seasons as Buffy. Emmy winner for All My Children. The only one here who has been in 2 Scooby Gangs. And now give it up for the brains behind Buffy, the guy with the vision, Joss Whedon.
Hi.
I don't think we have to coach this group to do it once more with feeling. I think they're already in the room. So, but this room just finished watching what was really a landmark episode of television, Once More with Feeling, and I would like to start, I guess, with that because it was such a major moment for Buffy fans and for TV in general. And I just want to get a sense from the panel, those who were involved in the episode, what memories it brought back. Was it the hardest episode to make, or the most fun to make, or both?
Well, he got the mustard out, you know, and that was, for me, that was the most important part of that episode.
I'm going to go with fun. It wasn't the hardest. I mean, it wasn't harder than Hush, but every day there was, music and songs.
There was that. Remember that one scene that we had? We were in Culver City.
That was not fun.
Yeah.
The long take of Nick.
And they were dancing in the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are remembering this differently, man. This was total terror from the cast. You were a fanatic, man. You would not let anybody off the hook. And the thing is, guys, none of us signed up to be singers in front of millions of people. I mean,
Yeah,
Tony
James
Head and I
hates
were
that.
kind of. Tony Head and I were already recording, and we were kind of comfortable with it. But man, like a lot of the actors, we weren't professional singers. And what I remember, the thing that I really loved about it was how everyone really screwed their courage to the sticking place and did it, and came through for you because they knew that you had a great script, and we ended up flying with it. And ended up having a great time. But what was so impressive to me was just the courage of the cast to do something that they really weren't expert at. And especially Sarah, frankly, who had to, who had more to do than other people.
I begged to get out of it.
Yeah.
I begged for Buffy the Rat.
Yes.
I kept thinking, bring the rat back.
But then by the end of it, we were all.
Buffy the Rap. Like we're gonna go, yeah.
You wanted to turn the series
That
into
probably
a
would have
musical.
been better, for me at least.
Anyway, I
It
like
was
the
a lot of work, but I do agree. I think Hush for me was the hardest.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those moments where I thought, oh, this is great. You know, a whole episode with no lines. Like, this is a breeze. And boy, was I wrong.
The writing it, first of all, I was like, I was terrified, just totally more terrified than with the musical, that I just couldn't pull it off. But then when we were shooting it, because everybody knew their action, but there were no lines, there was no rhythm, there was no cue, so I would call action, and everybody would do everything all at once. Every scene was like 10 seconds long, because we had no way to communicate how to sort of create a rhythm. That was
Because we also didn't talk to each other when the cameras weren't rolling either.
Yes, that's also.
Decided just to not talk for the whole 8 days.
It made ordering breakfast very difficult.
But the show took you out of your comfort zone quite a bit. I mean, that was part of what Buffy was all about, and taking the viewer out of their comfort zone. We weren't expecting that from this show, but I mean, so week after week, I remember James, I've heard you in some interview saying that you get a script and always be terrified. I mean, it's always a challenge for you all. So I mean, can you address the fact that you would get a script and say, what the hell's next?
Yeah. If they got a script, they were slightly less terrified than usual,
Exactly
because
right.
they actually got one. But James did also say something that I've quoted many times since. If we don't have the shit scared out of us at least once a year, we're not working hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody have the most terrifying moment? Like you looked at it and said, you are not serious. Like, gonna make me do this.
I gave myself psychosomatic tonsillitis when I heard I had to sing. I was so petrified. It's like, hello.
I remember that.
Does this mean I don't have to sing? But somehow, with lots of tea and lemon, Josh was like, you can do it. And I wouldn't let them. I think I'm the only one that's not on like the DVD of the singing because my face was so puffy from crying. Traumatizing. Sorry.
It's a rough life.
I'm better now. I've dealt with my.
Think twice before you get into this type of life, okay? You'll get puffy from crying.
Or breakfast.
But I think that the people that terrified themselves the most were the writers, frankly, because we just had to stand on tape, man. We just had to wear the hair. But the writers had to actually write truth and the things that truly terrified them, or what the days when they really humiliated themselves. The worst day in their whole life, and when they made the biggest mistake of their entire life, and then they put fangs on it and send it down to us, and we say, "Oh, I'm scared of that. I'm too scared to do it." Well, I wrote it, so you can do it, pal. Yeah. So the writers were the bravest, I think.
I'm going to go with that. Yeah.
Except you didn't write most of them.
Whoa. I'm out of here.
What happened?
That's horrible. Hey, why don't we
finally
applaud
starting.
actually the writers back to work? Why don't we applaud that?
Yeah.
Now, why don't we applaud me? Okay. I'm working.
Well, Joss, we know you love musicals. That's why this episode exists in the first place. But there's always been questions. I got some online before this whole thing happened. People asking whether you'd ever take it to Broadway. Could you envision a Broadway Buffy? Because someone has to atone for that Elton John Lestat musical.
I would love to take a Buffy to Broadway. It would not be this. This is an episode of television. It's very particular. You would have to start from scratch. I've spent some time daydreaming about it because I'm me. But it would be. The problem is I couldn't just sort of sign it over and go, "You there, write a Buffy musical. That's great. Then show it to me when you're done."
Show of hands cast. Who would join? Who would come along for the ride on that one?
It's like
on the Buffy. I would.
I'm out.
But this is.
And I think we could get Tony.
Alyson would love to sing.
I'm a very famous song and dance man.
Yeah.
I'd take my special brand of musical anywhere you led me.
Well, Oz was the musician of the group. It was kind of too bad you didn't come back for the cameo.
Yeah, you know.
What did you think when you saw the episode for the first time?
What's that?
When you saw the episode for the first time, the musical.
I wept, silent. I mean, to myself, because no one was there. But I reached to my phone to call all my friends and didn't have any of their numbers. That's
Hey, who's on your fave 5?
It's you, Nick Brendon. Nick Brendan's in my 5.
I got D. Wade on mine.
As wonderful as the episode was, it came in the middle of the 6th season, which was probably the most controversial and darkest season. And Sarah, I'd like to ask you about this season in particular. It was a really difficult one for a lot of people to even watch, I think. But when you're playing somebody who was basically dead inside and not really the Buffy that we'd kind of come to know and love, was it a particularly difficult season? And it was the first one on UPN as well, so there were a lot of changes going on as well.
It was definitely tough for me. It's so hard to separate myself from her. So it was tough for me to sort of see these situations and say, but Buffy wouldn't do this. And I felt pressure from the voice of the fans. I know Joss and Marti both particularly had talked me down off a ledge a couple times because it just felt so far removed for me at the time. And maybe that was the point. Maybe I was struggling the same way that she was struggling to find who she was. It just felt so foreign to me.
And it just went into such dark places consistently. There's almost no relief in that season, especially once you got past the musical episode, probably.
I would like to mention also that after season 5, I went to the writers and said, okay, you know, after every season, let's break it down, see what we did right, see what we did wrong. I thought season 5 went great. This season, gotta be funnier. This season was really kind of heavy, so let's just lighten it up.
Yeah.
And I actually think it was pretty funny. I'm seeing a person about it. But I do remember, you know, there was a time when I said to Marti, it was an actual day when I said to Marti, okay, you know what, I think we've had Buffy's been gone for too long.
Yeah.
Like, we've lost her, and it's time now to win her back. And then you had a conversation with Marti on the exact same day.
Yeah, it was really weird. This
The
was
exact same day,
time.
completely separate from me, said the exact same thing.
Yeah, I remember that day too. It was the day when everybody kind of thought, okay, we've reached the bottom of the pool. It's time to surface. And you said to me, Sarah, like, I just don't feel like I've lost the hero completely, like in all this exploration. And I remember what we talked about in terms of season 6 was it was that time after high school when you kind of lose yourself, when you do. But she lost it and
it's hard.
continued to lose it.
Because I guess for me too, I always looked up to her. I think that was something for me. I thought, God, when I was younger, I would have loved to have had a role model like that, of a woman that showed you that, you know, you don't have to be the smartest, and you don't have to be the most beautiful, but you can protect your family and the people that you love, and that you can be a powerful woman. And I think that's what made it hard for me.
It wasn't Susan Lucci. You know what? You lie to me a lot.
Nikki's just angry because I'm taller than him now.
Bigger
Love you.
boobs, bigger boobs.
Clothes look better on me.
So then we decided to bring Buffy back. And
Meanwhile, back at the Paleyfest.
back to Buffy. But I think that was for all of us, especially for Joss, Marti, and I. You know, again, we love her, and it was hard, I think, for all of us to watch her suffer. And I think it was a part of growing pains. You were separating yourself a little. It was a tough time, and I think that's what came through in the end, which was great, because when Buffy herself resurfaced, we all sort of found our voice again. And she didn't sing, which is great for me. Is that me? Am I doing that?
Sorry.
Just kidding.
Is there a 40s detective?
We're looking for a gumshoe. Is there a gumshoe around here?
Well, that kind of leads me to asking the writers in particular here about, because you're watching the show and you keep thinking, did you enjoy finding new ways to make the characters suffer and grieve? I mean, would it have killed you for a happy ending once in a while? That sort of thing. I guess what I'm asking is, why was Buffy a better show for making us go and the characters go through all this pain?
Well, let's start with Mr. Prophet.
Yeah.
Well, now, I'm not wearing underwear. Was that in? Did I miss it? Was it in?
Hey, now it's not.
I'm still thinking about it.
Wow.
That's kind of a big bomb to drop.
I didn't get to see it. The thing.
Just chime in as to whether or not we're wearing underwear.
The thing I
Was that the question?
The thing I hated most about Joss, and there were many things to hate. When we started Buffy, he had this keyboard, and if he knew 3 chords, I'll give you $100. He was like playing around on this keyboard, and 5-6 years later, he writes a musical that is worthy of Broadway, which doesn't answer your question about making the characters suffer. There's nothing like taking all your pain and misery and shoving it into very good-looking people's mouths.
So David always makes you suffer somehow, whether it's an answer to a question. There's always going to be suffering involved.
Interesting vision.
And Joss always said, he wasn't happy unless Buffy cried. Sorry. I mean, not meaning literally, but that the journey was all about triumphing over adversity, personal and monster-wise.
Early on, when David and I were first starting, really, I think a lot of the template for the show happened when we were breaking the third episode, the witch episode. And David came up with the idea that a mother was jealous of her daughter's youth and had stolen it from her. And it still makes my spine go, bing. It's like, it is absolutely the essence of the show. And it took the idea of, there's good guys, there's bad guys, there's monsters, we love these people, and it just took it one level further into the pain and into what people are capable of, and what, in particular, David Greenwalt is capable of. And that was a huge seminal moment for me, because it made me realize, there's more to this. And then as we progressed, we tried to break the hyena show for weeks, for months, before we realized we had to turn Xander into a hyena.
And I think I broke that, didn't I?
But
yes, I remember it was all you, Nick.
Yeah, it was a day like every other.
But just going back further, I mean, I think, you have to go back even, I think, further than an episode, which is, you go back to a pilot, and I'd come out to LA for pilot season, and I'm beside myself. I think, Joss Whedon, Toy Story, I read this amazing script, and all of my friends felt sorry for me because I was on a mid-season replacement on a network no one had heard of, on a show based on a movie that wasn't
all that.
And literally, people would look at me and said, "Oh, well, at least you got a pilot your first time out here. That's great. Next year you'll get one that'll go." and I remember Joss and I having lunch right after he made me screen test 11 times for the role. But I remember him saying, just the basic principle of the show is you take all that is horrible about youth and all that is scary, and we literally made them into monsters. But I think that anybody can relate to what high school is like and how that is the worst monster for you and your worst nightmare. And it was something that was so relatable. And I think that was the whole key to the show, was no matter, yes, not everyone faced the hyena, but essentially we all did. And I think that's what was so beautiful about the pain and about the story. Is that a little too schmaltzy? But
no. That was what it was, the intent from the very beginning. I remember thinking when they said, "Do you want to make a series?" And thinking, "Oh, wait a minute, pain." It was good. Yeah, it was always, that metaphor was always there. But it was like every time we add a layer, every time when I met David, when I met Sarah, when I met every Marti and every cast member, there was a new level of what a pain. And there was a new level of, when David and I used to crow when we realized what Sarah could do. And we used to call her Jimmy Stewart because he was the greatest American in pain in the history of film. And
I never knew that.
You called me Jimmy Stewart?
It was a great compliment.
Even when we called you Jimmy, you didn't.
I don't think I ever knew that.
We were like,
You have kind of a casual everyman style about it.
It's not the facial. It's not the bone features. It's that. Oh, okay, it's every same man. I don't think you look like Jimmy.
Thanks, Nick.
It's Joss.
To take this conversation to a very serious plane now, asked all the time, final analysis, final verdict, Angel or Spike?
Well, who's sitting on stage?
Yeah, right.
Well, given the comic book, I think Willow.
Wait, hold on. Wait. You know, I just heard this.
Wait,
Okay, so what's
wait, but
great
Josh,
is
this
that
was the
I
best
did
moment.
not
We
know
were out on the
about
press
this till
line.
about 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And someone
Right
said
on
to me,
in front of
so,
her.
how do you feel about, you know, Buffy's new relationship? And I'm like, well, she's with a woman. I'm like, she's with Willow?
What?
No, she's with a woman. I didn't know either. But it's not Willow. It's a new girl.
That looks exactly like Willow. Her name's Pillow.
I had no idea. This is literally news
I was
to
gonna
me.
warn you,
You
but I
might
got
have
too
went.
late.
So you're giving Dawn more issues.
Yeah, Christ.
I didn't realize I was
I'm not in the comic
my
book,
eye
am I?
until I saw.
I'm not in the comic book, am I?
You're gay. You're really gay.
Great, okay. That's cool.
Really gay.
But
That's cool.
Michelle, you know, Dawn is no longer the little sister in the comic book.
Yeah.
She's like super big sister.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
that's fun.
And gay.
See, if these guys were
No, he
nerds,
means
we
really
wouldn't have to have this conversation in front of y'all. Okay? Yeah.
Well, we brought up the season 8 comic, so I imagine we should. You are still playing in this sandbox of Buffy, no question about it. But I mean, what does this mean for the future of Buffy? I mean, I would be shot dead if I didn't have all these people in the room together and say, what is the possibility of another Buffy project that we could
I'd still be.
actually watch?
I'd be concerned about the assassination attempts, man. If you're nervous about getting shot in here tonight, you might want to beef up the security detail. Putting it out there.
Can I be in your top 5 too?
You want to get my 5?
Yeah.
All right. What's your number? Don't worry, nobody's listening.
That's off though, right?
Yeah, I turned it off.
Okay,
'cause
make sure
it
that
distorts
all
the
cell phones are off.
Seriously, all cell phones, not just turned to vibrate. We need them turned completely.
Well, I think that was the answer to your question.
Heard that? Mine are totally on. Sorry.
So there's no chance.
No chance. But, you know, there's been talk for how long? You know, a Spike movie, the Ripper series. I mean, all these things that have been floated around. And what would it take?
Am I playing the Ripper? Am I the Ripper?
That was Giles.
No, I was there for that part.
Maybe a Xander, the one-eyed monster. I don't know.
That was, you know, it's funny because you talk about the metaphor of high school. That was definitely the monster that tormented us all. And
Right.
you're right down to it.
But the X-Files can do it twice.
By the way, notice this is why this hasn't happened for 4 years now.
Can only end in tears. Anyway, my answer would be like, you know, there's so many stars that would have to align. But you know, there's a reason I worked with all these people for so long. They're enormously talented. Clearly, from the comic, it's a story I can't let go of. I think it would be really cool.
Why aren't all of you clapping? I don't get that. Isn't clapping contagious? I mean, it's called the clap for a reason. Wow, still nothing.
There was a minor outbreak of applause in the theater tonight. Don't worry, it wasn't complete pandemonium. Many people resisted, but several were overtaken by it.
Well, the nerds of the world who are reading the comic book do know that you're telling a story that is new, and of course, the relationship or this moment anyway, that happens between Buffy and the other Slayer. But I mean, if you were to make another project, does the comic live in its own world, or do you tell another story, or what would happen if you were, hypothetically?
Hypothetically, if you could make things align, that would be fun. I ended up, when I was doing the comic, I wrote a comic, Frey, that took place 200 years in the future, thinking, there's no way this can ever affect the show, and so it'll be safe. And then we ended up using a little of that mythology to the side, that, you know, that was from the comic book originally. And then so I sort of felt an obligation to work into that mythology. And it would be lovely to make it all tie in, but if I had to shoot down everything I'm doing in comics because we were doing a project where I was filming with these actual people, I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
But what should we read into Buffy's big night with her, Sansu or whatever her name is?
Sansu.
Sansu. Oh, yeah,
Sansu.
okay. What should we read into that?
Just what's written. She's, you know,
It's totally hot.
very close.
Totally steamy scenario. I'll say it. Go ahead. That's what everybody's thinking.
It's not a giant life change. It's not like Willow. It's just, you know, somebody who's young with somebody that they really like a lot, and when they have a lot of time on their hands. Oh, didn't anybody go to college?
No.
On the panel or in the room?
Well, another body I want to talk about here, I think, is The Body, the episode The Body, which was another landmark, much as the one you saw tonight. And I think Sarah and Michelle in particular, that was a very raw and, again, a very sort of a dangerous episode to do in some ways. And I just wanted to get a sense of what your memories are about doing that, and, you know, for Joss, why that was such an important episode to make. But I mean, in terms of, you know, saying goodbye to somebody you'd worked with for a long time, but also in this very stark and very unique episode.
You want to go first?
Okay. I don't know. I think, obviously, I'm honored to have been a part of such an amazing episode. I know that being a fan of the show from the very beginning and actually then being on it was very surreal for me. So when I read the episode, it was like I was losing a part of myself, to be honest. And Joss has an amazing way of really making you feel everything with even just, you know, the stage directions and everything. You knew exactly where you were at that very moment. We actually, the interesting part of the episode is we shot, we had dialogue for when Sarah comes to tell me that our mom has passed away. And it was a whole, you know, back and forth conversation of the whole breakdown and everything. And obviously you guys know that in the end result, there was no sound. And I thought that was actually one of the most brilliant ideas you've ever had, because it allows everyone to sort of attach their own emotional plug to whatever might have happened in your lives and everything. So I think it allowed the audience to really connect with Dawn for the first time and whatnot.
Sorry for putting you through half a day of weeping, though.
Yeah. Well, I had the gaffers and, like, you know, the Dolly crew, everyone crying, so that was pretty cool. I wasn't stealing things.
Everybody was
That was
happy.
great.
Everybody.
Yeah. I wasn't whining, crying.
It was tough. I mean, I had a little bit more advanced knowledge of what was coming than Michelle did, and I think in your head you think it kind of prepares you to say goodbye to Christine, to know it's coming. But you have to understand that both Michelle and I come from families of single, strong mothers, where for both Michelle and I, our mothers are everything. So you try to separate as best you can, but at the same time, it adds that extra layer. And I think, particularly for me, Joss came to me early on and he said, I had this idea about the first act. He was going to play it in 4 acts, basically, all in real time. And he said, how do you feel if the first act, your act, where you find your mother, is just one shot? And I was like, what do you mean? You mean like no retakes? And he said, yeah, what if we go through, it's a handheld situation, and you find her and everything goes through. And so we basically had, your memory is better than mine, but I feel like it was a half a day to prepare for it.
Yes. And then, I mean, that was like one of the days, that one shot.
Yeah,
Like
that
3
one
minutes
shot.
or
Yeah, it was like a 3-minute steady cam, and it was basically everybody having to come together. Christine laying still, the sound man, everybody coming together to sort of. It felt like a live stage play. It was.
And Alan Easton on the handheld camera.
Who's never been the same, by the way, since that night. We broke him literally that day. But it was just. I think the thing for me with the show was it was always so amazing to be a part of something that was constantly breaking the rules. We were constantly doing things that had never been done, that we were constantly challenging both our audience and ourselves.
Well, you know, part of what happened with The Body came from a challenge that you threw down inadvertently. And I don't know if you know this either, Jimmy. You know, when I made Hush, it was literally, part of it was, you know, I'm kind of turning into a hack. I get on set, I'm going over 2 shot, getting the dialogue. I felt like I was starting to like phone it in, like not challenge myself. So I thought, okay, if I had a story I could only tell visually, that would be much harder. There was a scene with you and Tony, and you played it, and it was beautiful. And I said something, and I believe I said, I can tell exactly where the music comes in. And you said, it's not, that's not the best thing you could say to me. It's like, it feels like then I didn't give you everything you need. And I thought about it, I was like, I'm kind of using the music as a crutch. Too, in the same way, sort of like, I was like, what? And then finally I was like, I know what I'm going for, and there's a stillness to it. And besides, I love the birds. So, the idea of not using music partially came from what I was trying to evoke, but also partially from me realizing, you know what? I have to take something away from myself. I have to bear myself the same way you guys have to. And I got that from you, and it was great. It was like, oh yeah, you know what? I can be better.
Well, Emma, I remember this being a very interesting episode for you as well, because you were so at sea about knowing what to say, and of course you would just say anything that came to you as Anya.
Right.
And so in this episode, you were trying to understand why humans feel and say these things.
I was asked, and I'm asked a lot in the press line as well, what's your favorite episode? And the obvious answer is the musical, and it is. It was a really reinvigorating and challenging, really, and flat out fun time that we had. But the body really resonates with me, and I know it resonates with a lot of people. And I'm asked, actually, was saying I had a real Anya moment, and I'm not proud of it, and in this way, because I was asked recently by a fan. She came up to me and she's like, I just want to say I'm a fan, and I really love the body. And I said, yeah, thank you. We're all really proud of it too. It was really, really, and Joss is so great. I'm like, yes, he's a genius. And she said, I just want to know, like, what were you thinking? Because your monologue, I cry every time, and it's such it just ties it all in. And I'm like, to be honest, I had to go to the bathroom. Like, I was really hungry. I had to go to the bathroom, and Joss was like, Napoleon with the tears. Like, it was like going down one eye, but he wanted it on another, and then it was too many tears and not enough tears, and like we were in meal penalty, and I was like, everyone's hungry, and I have to pee, and I'm just like, why? Cut, great. And the poor girl, the look on this poor girl's face, and she's like, oh, that's nice. Okay, well, thank you. And I was like, oh, damn it! It was Anya. I just spoke without thinking, it was. But
that damn truth.
That damn
People off.
pesky truth.
What do they say? If you tell the truth, you don't have to actually remember anything.
What?
If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
Does that work for you?
Well, I don't lie.
But no, I am very.
I missed the show.
I was very, very lucky to have that monologue and be a part of that episode as well, because it really was a beautifully done episode from top to finish. Sarah's performance, the writing, the directing, everything was just really flawless, and should have won an award.
And also, we have to remember too.
Sorry,
it should have. It's not just about all of us that are sitting here, and I think one of the things that made the show so special was all of these recurring characters, like Christine Sutherland, like, the people that we'd be here forever. And
Danny Strong.
Danny Strong.
But just everybody. We were so fortunate that the show kept evolving, and we kept adding all these great people. And Christine was a part of the family. She'd been there since the beginning, and just a moment for all of those people that helped. That wasn't us.
Mm-hmm.
Christine, I mean, the thing.
Yeah, thank you. That was what I was going for.
She was just, apart from being extraordinarily gracious and talented and a hilarious teenager, she, she held still for 8 days, without complaint and without, without rancor, and she understood what we were going for. It was so much bigger than, her own worry about her character, and she's one of the most gracious people and most underrated people from that show.
I agree.
Well, The nature of this show is that you're going to be saying goodbye to people from time to time because it's the nature of the beast, so to speak. And I think one of the deaths that really rocked the world of Buffy so much was the death of Tara. And Amber, I just wanted, Amber, did you have any notion that there was going to be such an outcry? Well, first when the relationship with Willow was established, but also then when you were taken out of the show that way.
Well, I have to stop you down and say it's Tara, because Joss would hurt me if I didn't.
Oh.
He's very particular about it. Although the British seem to Tara a lot, but Tara.
That's the way they pronounce it.
Yes, they pronounce everything that. Yeah.
You should see how they pronounce aluminum.
Foil. They say foil. No, I mean, I guess, I had no idea that Alyson and I were going to become lovers. I mean, not in real life, but like.
That was later.
That was later. Poor Alexis.
I'm learning so much about everyone. Crazy.
No, but we had no idea. Like, I mean, I didn't have any idea. We were actually taken aside, like, I guess 3 episodes in. Like, by the way, you guys have really good chemistry. So, and which was weird because the crew kept coming up and going, you guys, like, really cool together. You're really cool. You got like a thing.
A thing I'd like to watch. Right?
So I mean, I had no idea going in that this is the sort of the track we were going to be going down. But I think the beauty of this show is that it has heart. That this is something that is very important to Joss. That he wanted to like touch you guys, not in that way. That way.
Every one of you.
I know, everything's dirty.
After the show.
Being around them.
One by one, single file line, minimum of 30 seconds each. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
Joss, did I ever tell you about the call I got from the WB? WB called me and said, is he really going to do the gay thing? And I said, he's really going to do the gay thing, but I get used to it.
They only called me once, and that was about the kiss. But no, actually, they did call me and say, you know, we got a lot of gay this year. It's kind of gayed out. Dawson's and this other, and I'm like, I didn't know. I don't watch those shows. I'm sorry. We're going to do this thing. It's true to character. It's what we're going to do. And then they were totally fine. They said, and they were like, do you have to have the kiss? I was like, okay, I'm packing up my office. Seriously, I never pulled that out except that one time. I was like, I'm packing up the office. And they were like, no, it's cool. We may lose advertisers.
Well,
and in fact, they did. It wasn't the kiss, and as some people know this, we did actually lose advertisers and get censored and have to pull back from a storyline one time when Buffy was working in a fast food joint. They did not like us making fun of fast food on television.
And also, the explosion.
For real?
Yo, well, of course the explosion after. Yo, well, of course the explosion after.
Oh yeah, so Burger King wouldn't want to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were
I eat
pretty much
In-N-Out
working in
burger.
concert on that.
Me too.
Safer.
It's the best. Fans of In-N-Out Burger? Those of you who didn't raise your hand, got to get in the know.
It's all about the fries.
Well, Charisma, I just want to throw a question to you about leaving the show when you did. And we got questions from all over the place through email. And one person, Katie from San Diego, wanted to know how and when you knew that moving along to Angel was the right move for your character. But in terms of the transition, how going from one show to another and leaving this particular group, or at least parts of it, behind to go on to the other thing, and as this person says, how did you know that that was the right thing to do for the character? Do you think that that was the right move for Cordelia?
Yes.
It was the right thing to do because we couldn't do Angel without her.
Okay.
We needed her balance in Angel. And I channel Cordelia pretty well. You know.
You give good Cordelia.
I give good Cordelia.
Yeah, it was the right move for me too because I got to be the new Cordelia on Buffy, and then failed because I caught fire too much. So I couldn't tell Buffy that she was going to lose all the time. I was always losing myself.
What did you think, Charisma, though? Were you worried, like, oh, what if this new thing flops?
I was. And I literally said that because, first of all, Joss asked me to take a walk with him, which is always a frightening thing.
Very dangerous.
Often, as a joke, would say, "You're fired." Just kidding. Which really had me.
He did do that.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did that to me too. Yeah.
He did it to you too.
After
He did that to me.
Wait a minute.
He did that to me, but it took. So.
Ever. I got a message on my answering machine from David and Joss, basically saying, "We read your first script. We're really sorry to tell you that you know you just didn't cut it, and you know you're really nice and we're joking." And then they said like, "Welcome to the family" or whatever, and I was like, "I hate you."
We love
So yeah, they like to pull that one.
Yeah. Often.
Yeah.
And apparently, but I literally used the words to Joss, if it doesn't go, what happens? And he said, you will always have a net here with Buffy. So so let's do it.
You'll have a nut here with Buffy?
Net. N-E-T.
Okay, sorry.
Thing the trapeze artists fall into.
A lot of innuendo everywhere.
Well, Emma, when we were talking about the body episode, you mentioned the fact that it should have won an award for something, and this brings up the question of, industry respect. I mean, clearly the show has gained respect since it's been off the air. I mean, I think the reputation of this show and the influence of the show is quite out there. But as you look back on it now, for anybody on the panel, I mean, how much did it bother you that the show was?
I'll take it because I probably have a different view than most people did.
Mm-hmm.
We had the fans. And that's better than any award. Some panel that sits in a room that debates, maybe seen the episodes, maybe hasn't. But when it came to the fans, they were so loyal, and we won the fan awards. And I think for all of us, that was more important than. See, I know you disagree.
No. You don't put Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the WB thinking, I'm getting Emmys.
I truly believe that I don't think it would have held the same importance that it would when it came to write-in awards or fan awards, because honestly, we make the show for the fans. That's why we do it. And the fact that all these years later, I can't tell you who won an Emmy any of the years that we didn't, but yet people still remember our show. And to me, that's more important.
I totally built a trophy case. I sold it on eBay, but empty.
I remember being at some banquet, some award ceremony. We were all there, and we were up for Best Drama, and the person says, and the winner for Best Drama for this year is, and he opened the menu, and all of us at the table go, West Wing in concert, and of course it was West Wing, but we all knew, we were invited to the party for spurious reasons,
They have free dinner there.
But yeah, it was kind of a joke, and I think you're exactly right. You don't expect awards when
You look at things lately, and I've seen a bunch of lists recently where it talks about favorite characters, favorite shows. I saw the best love scenes this week. It was you and me, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, thank him. Thank him.
Right, bring it down the house.
Take that, Angel.
Yeah. And that's why we're still here now.
Well, this is the time when actually the fans are going to get to play along a little bit. So we have people in the audience with mics. You'll be able to ask questions when you get the mic. So now it is your turn.
This is for everybody. In episode 4-9452.
I know the one you speak
just
of, my
kidding.
friend.
No, serious. This has really nothing to do with the show. This is more about each of you personally. It's 2 questions. What do you each like? What's your favorite movie? And what do you guys listen on your iPods right now? Favorite movie, starting with Joss, please. Drama, comedy.
Still haven't topped The Matrix, sorry. Still number 1 on me. And on my iPod right now, wall-to-wall Sondheim from an event.
My favorite movie, is it okay to say South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut?
Yeah. Could you give us a song?
No. It's on my iPod too.
That's it? That's it? That's all you're gonna give us?
She had a 2-for-1 answer.
That doesn't work.
Take your pain and move on.
Did they make Kojak the movie?
Sure. Yes, Nicholas, they did.
Kojak the movie.
I think Michael Rosenbaum was in it.
I think, I was thinking about this a couple days ago to myself in my car. And my girlfriend's gonna say, huh? But
No, this has a one-word answer, right?
no, I don't know. But
I'm just saying.
this is how I buy time.
How'd you get a girlfriend? That's awesome.
He found her in the penny saver.
I literally can't hear out of my left ear. David.
Nothing but love.
Favorite
Nothing
film?
but love.
Probably Marty.
I know she is exquisite.
It's really pretty.
It's
Lovely.
more than a penny.
Marty?
That's a good movie.
And
Marty Noxon?
Marty with Ernest.
That was a TV movie, but it was so great that they.
Oh, is that what
yeah, but
happened?
then they released it, I think, as a feature because it was so good.
It's amazing. By the way, noted that was James talking and not me. So, so I'm sorry. Long-winded. And then I think probably in terms of my iPod, I got everything on it. I got jazz, I got classical, and I got current events. So just take that, put that in your pipe.
My favorite movie is Apocalypse Now. Not the Redux, which is way too long, but the original that hit the hammer right on the head and just terrified me but when I was a lot younger. And on my iPod, I just cleared out my drive on my Mac, so now I can go back into iTunes and actually use it, because for a long time it was like, you can't do that, you have a movie on your... So now I'm just catching up, it's like I didn't have any Beck, so I got some Beck, I didn't have Robert Johnson, I got him. I didn't have any Rolling Stones, so I got the Stones, I got the Nirvana. So I'm catching up, and it's like every day I'm like, oh, I don't have him. Oh my God, I don't have any the Muddy Waters. So then I go and check out Muddy Waters and get a bunch of Muddy Waters. So I'm like a kid in the candy store right now.
Let's see. Favorite movie would probably be a tie between Silence of the Lambs and Pulp Fiction. And if you could make a favorite movie out of a show, sans, of course, our own show, that would be Battlestar Galactica. And I don't know if you guys are watching it, but it's so good.
What?
And
I heard that.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Rocks
Oh my
the hard
God,
rock.
like rocks the house. And on my iPod, I'm obsessively listening to In Rainbows by Radiohead.
The what? I can't hear you.
Radiohead.
Radiohead.
That's good?
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Don't you just love these reunions?
What? The Radiohead. Okay.
Are they new then?
Radiohead. She said the Radiohead.
I think she did.
They never let me talk when I was 14, too. I don't know. There's, when I started, yeah. I know. Yeah. I'm old now. There's so many favorite movies. Two ties. I'm going to take your tie. The Labyrinth with David Bowie. Yeah. And Rain Man, awesome. Mix on my iPod, everything from Madonna to Kanye West, Jimmy Eat World, Green Day, ABBA Gold, why not?
Yeah.
I recently actually just got a mix from 1985 of like the best songs of 1985, which is pretty cool. Britney Spears, You Want a Piece of Me, just because. I support it.
You rebel.
Yeah. Gangsta.
Josh, what kills me is when young people talk about 1985. I always think for us that was happy days. You know what I mean? The 80s is to them as the 50s was. Does that freak you out? Okay. Wow. Sorry, sidebar. Tie between Poltergeist and Goodfellas. Yeah, and Out of Sight is one of my favorite movies ever. Music. My brother is the music supervisor on Weeds, so I get all this great. And his wife created that show, so that's awesome. But that's another panel, so okay, sidebar. But so he gives me all this really, really amazing, cheap to buy music. So Xavier Rudd right now, and Paige France, which are amazing artists.
Ooh, I'm sorry. You just made me think of cool artists. I love Feist. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Anchorman.
That's why I love her.
Holiday Nights. Those are all good to watch at night when my son's gone to sleep and I need a good laugh. And I'm listening to a lot of the Killers on the treadmill right now. Next.
Oh, did you say a movie?
I did.
Oh, you did, didn't you?
Anchorman.
Oh, yeah. Blacked out for a second, so. That rehab didn't take.
Any movie Seth Green is in, I love.
I like a lot of movies, but I always cite Raising Arizona as one of my favorites because it's an exquisite kind of genre-busting movie. I gotta admit, I saw There Will Be Blood this year.
Hey, isn't that good?
I think it's one of the best films I've ever seen. I thought it was awesome. Awesome movie. So yeah, deal with that. What's that?
The Lives of Others.
I didn't see it. Was it good?
Oh, that's a good one too.
Can't hardly wait.
Sorry, go ahead.
Solid.
Can't hardly wait, no.
Music-wise, oh, I'm in there.
It's okay, throw back Harry the Spy, it's good.
No, they don't know what's going on. Don't worry about it. Music-wise, I have about 25,000 songs on my iPod. But in the car, I've got a 6 CD player. It's Albert Hammond's record. If you guys haven't heard it, it's the guitarist from The Strokes, Albert Hammond Jr. Brilliant record. It's awesome. I got Fall Out Boy, Infinity on High. I just pulled out Beck's Midnight Vultures, which if you've never heard, epic record. I have a hip-hop mix, which has everything from like Jay-Z to, yes, Britney Spears on it.
Yeah, thank
Just
you.
in case, you know, it's 11:30 at night, you're driving home, want to have an attitude, turn that mix on. It's good. It's good like that. I'm not entirely sure, but you get the idea. You get the idea. What else is in there? What do you like? You like movies?
This is turning like a singles bar scene here.
What do you like? Well,
Hey, so I really like your hair. When do you get it done?
I don't get it done.
I like that dress.
Thank you.
You want to get out of here?
Yes.
I got just enough money to buy you a
bye,
drink.
you guys.
But then I'm gonna need to borrow cash for a cab.
I'm not as funny as I can't compete. It's just
Well, you know what? How about taking a question about Buffy from somebody? that would be.
Wait, Amber has musical taste.
I knew this
She has musical
I'm
taste.
sorry. Okay.
She's just not busting one-liners. She's got favorites.
That's right. I'm listening to Steve Earle on my iPod.
Nice.
Well, Johnny Come Lately, and some Angela Correa, who's like a local artist. The album's called Koreatown. She's very good. She's fun to write too. And I love Sullivan's Travels. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
Little Preston Sturges action. It's always good. So.
Godfather, Serenity. What the hell's an iPod? You young people with your interweb.
It's a
Talking heads.
It's a modern walk.
What is
it?
It's similar to the old cassette player that you.
Oh, like an 8-track thing.
No. The
Boombox on your
reel-to-reel
shoulder?
audio tape.
Another question, please. Yep. Who's got the-
Hi, this question's for Joss up here.
Oh, hey.
I've always thought that Oz's storyline kind of just ended in nowhere. I was wondering if he would show up in season 8 by any chance.
Wait, who's Us.
Well, first of all, Seth left. Okay.
Although we did have a conversation, I was like, "So what? You're gonna kill me?" And he was like, "I don't know. Maybe I'll just throw you out there, see what happens. And maybe I'll just, maybe I'll bring you back, maybe never." We like the options.
And as for season 8, that's a definite yes.
Wait. Am I gonna be making out with a girl?
Me.
We'll
Oh,
see.
sweet.
Do I get a
That's her
boyfriend?
name, actually. We'll see.
We'll see.
Next question.
As I have gotten older, I was a sophomore when I started watching Buffy, and as a woman, as I've become older, I've realized that Angel was a 26-year-old vampire, I believe, and what a child I was as a sophomore. And I just wondered, Joss, is that something that you were given any kind of trouble for? Having Angel be so much older and Buffy be really a child as a sophomore. I'm not trying to tease you.
Nobody
but-
said anything when Seinfeld was dating that 16-year-old.
I said something.
Saying.
Actually, he was closer to 200, which makes him really gross. You know, I'm going to go with the Juliet was 13 of it, and the, you know, she was clearly nothing resembling a tiny child. She had been a Slayer for a while when she came onto the show. Obviously, emotionally, she was very fragile, but she was at an age where this was the sort of person she would fall for, the only sort of person she would fall for, and vice versa. You know, it was love. Maybe not legal, but it was definitely real.
Also, you might note it didn't go very well.
Yeah.
The whole sex
Well,
thing.
notice that it did turn out to be a bit of
Typical.
Let that be a lesson to you, young ladies.
Okay. Stay away from all older men who aren't Seth.
How did I get roped in on this?
Next.
Hi, I'm Eric. I've been watching this show since I was 9 years old, and now I'm almost 20. Yeah, crazy.
What's your point, buddy? Is there a question
first,
here or not?
I just want to say that, like, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for everything. You guys, part of my identity is due to you guys. Like, you guys really, the person who I am today, I'm really happy and proud of who I am, and it's because of you guys, all of you. Thank you guys so much.
Wow. Dark Horse Comics did that contest about, you know, how.
Wait, Eric, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have a question. All right. So, Amber.
Is it about what's on your iPod?
So Amber, I've heard through interviews online and everything why you didn't want to come back as Tara. I just wanted to hear you, like, hear face to face. What was it?
I was having sex with Marlon Brando, and he was about to pass away, and I needed to be by his bedside. So.
That was funny. I don't know.
I love that you said you
that
didn't
may have been
have a
2
one-liner.
lines, but that was funny. Off the hook.
I've been working on that for a couple of days now. I'm not off the cuff. I have to write it.
That was a strong one.
Yeah. And I chose to go all the way with it too, literally.
All right. So
if we're giving
really,
out,
though.
It was really more availability and trying to make it work. I was getting ready to go to London to direct The Ghost of Albion, and
Awesome, by the way.
oh, thank you. I mean, I think it was such a. It just didn't end up happening. You know, there are a lot of different reasons, but it just didn't end up kind of being able to be worked out. But I think the fact that Joss kept Willow as a lesbian rather than like saying, okay, well now she's done, she had this relationship, it's over. I think I think I'm really pleased with how that continued on, that she had somebody else, she continued to be who she was, she stuck by her guns, she wasn't just like a flip-flopper. Do you know? Everything is
Did you write that?
dirty. But you know, the fact that we were able to do that relationship to begin with, and the fact that I don't think people realized how intense the reaction was going to be to her passing away and stuff. I'm just really pleased that we got to do it, that we got to have that relationship, and whether it goes on or it doesn't go on, or it ends up in a comic book somewhere, or it ends up on a porn video somewhere.
Fanfic.
No, fanfic. Apparently, I'm getting it on with Giles and Willow at the same time somewhere.
I didn't get to finish writing it, but it's gonna be.
I just think that Joss did a beautiful thing. He created this relationship, and that's what we need to focus on. The fact that we had this beautiful relationship with 2 people who happened to be women, and I think they had the best relationship on the show. I think they raised or helped to raise Dawn. I think they were there for her.
Hey, I was there. I participated.
Were you?
I was a little dead, but I participated.
She did participate.
But you were kind of like the cool uncle that shows up. I've been on vacation. Hey, I got you guys a snow globe. It's from Peru.
We were the disciplinarians. We had to put our foot down. You're going to bed now, kid. We're gonna get it on in the other room. No, so that's my answer. Sticking to it, Marlon Brando.
Other questions?
Hi. I just wanted to, first off, thank all you guys for making my 30s, which I guess was a while ago, entirely bearable. I have no idea what it would have been without you. And also, how did the music of Christoph Beck affect you guys. For me, a lot of the early episodes are just, the music is just intertwined with my memories of the show.
Well,
your reply?
Christoph Beck was a composer for a lot of the run, about 4 years, and that man actually does have an Emmy for the show.
Yeah.
And well deserved one. I'll tell you just one thing. The piece he wrote for the episode Passion, when we killed Jenny Calendar, he wrote this very mournful piece for the last bit with Buffy and Giles, and Tony actually sings on it. Just a little, he just does a little vocalization. And I went to mix it, and we were trying to break Becoming, the last part, the last two-parter. And I went to mixing, we mixed Passion, and I had that tune stuck in my head. And it just was welling up. It just filled me, and I was just by myself, and suddenly everything in the episode just started to come together. And I had all the events, but no theme, and and then I realized I'm going to strip everything away from her one by one. School, her mother, her lover, her friends, everything's going to be pulled away from her. And it was all coming with this music just going and going in my head. And so Christoph, I mean, it's the same thing. What I got back from the actors, it was happening with him as well. Every time I got from them, it came back into the show. And so he not only made beautiful music, he caused some of the beautiful scenes with it.
Wow.
Other questions?
Wasn't he Christopher when we first were on the show? Wasn't he Christopher Beck?
And then he got an Emmy.
He lost an R in the war.
The next question, please.
Sadly, that R was never recovered.
Okay, here we go.
Is somebody outside?
Up there.
Okay, it's the reunion of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I wanted to know what do you each of you miss about working on the show?
Oh gosh, for me, it's the makeup, I'll tell you. There's 7 hours standing.
I miss directing Sarah Michelle Gellar, who can do 8 pages, and you can give her 40 notes, and she'll hit every one of them. She is a machine.
I miss never having the opportunity to have directed Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Very pretty machine, you know, the human machine.
I miss making out with hot chicks.
Yeah.
I know a club.
Yeah, all right. You need money?
No. I'll totally work on commission.
What do you miss, Chris?
I miss the family. I mean, I miss it. It's great. You know, we all can see each other from time to time, and we run into each other. But it's also the crew. It's these people who we were with for 8 years, and you know, every time their child won a karate competition, we were there for that. And those are the people that it's harder to keep the contact going. And I think for me, that atmosphere, that you can't ever get back. We could all get together and see each other, but just that environment.
I miss our hacky sack circle.
I miss watching that.
We almost invited you one time.
Yeah, no, it would have been a huge mistake.
Nikki, I miss you in your rocking chair.
I'm on my rocking chair, and some things never change. I've got 12 to 15 in my house. How's Thor doing, by the way?
Good. Thank you.
I actually miss arriving in my trailer every morning to find that David Boreanaz had already pooped in it. Without fail. And it was always that funny thing where I'd arrive and he'd be coming out of my door. He'd be like, "Left something for you, buddy." What? I don't even.
He's not even being serious.
Well, it is true. He'd actually be very proud of it. He'd be like,
And he would just put on too before he left.
I made something. It's crazy.
We have time for 2 more questions, so next one.
Wait, you know what?
Related, please.
I'm actually going to steal a second crack at that bat. And with all the love in my heart for the people I'm sitting next to, the thing I miss most is being in the writer's room. Because I've never been around a group like that. I don't think I will be again. Just so funny, so dedicated.
Thanks.
And
Many of whom are here tonight. A lot of the writers are sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Fury's down there.
Let's stand up. Why don't we stand up? Let's stand up. Stand up. right, Brooke?
But Randy's you, all you.
Cloverfield
Only
was
you.
awesome.
And
That's right, Drew.
Cloverfield was.
And I'm really glad that you've given us so many props, Joss, because in the future, if my career really bottoms out, I plan on going from wizard convention to wizard. There's
I'm
never
right there
been a
with you.
show where the writers get as much acknowledgement. They actually know. So I'm thank you.
I miss sneaking up to the writer's room. Like, I would always be in my schoolroom when I wasn't on set. Everyone else had to go back to their trailers and relax, and I would be with my algebra textbooks, and I would either sneak into Sarah's trailer and pet her shoes, or or sneak up to the writer's room and be like, hey, can I hang with the cool kids too? And they would look at me oddly. But yeah, that was really fun, and being with everyone and learning a lot. I learned a lot from 14 to 17 on the show, and that was the best high school experience and life experience I could ever
We had a
ask
good
for.
Scrabble game.
We did.
I miss Scrabble in my trailer.
That's
And
good.
you-
I
Seth
get
still
a-
makes the Scrabble game.
I get a regular game going, yeah.
Schooled me.
I think I like my Scrabble. Oh, there's like a new Scrabble game that's like Scrabble and Boggle.
Wait.
No, it's like awesome.
There's a crazy super Scrabble. That's it's the regular. It's like a fold out. They don't make a deluxe version of it that spins or anything, but it's just a board.
No,
It's the
but
regular board and then extra. I'm not kidding. It goes up to like quadruple word scores. There's 2 Z's. Yo, if y'all like Scrabble, you gotta get yourself a super Scrabble.
Scrabble has endorsed us this evening, actually.
And we were doing this show before they had medication for ADHD adult. You know, so this is us fairly calm.
Okay.
Another question, please.
One of my favorite characters on the show was Robo Buffy.
Yeah.
And this question is for Sarah. Was it harder or easier for you to play Robo Buffy because it's kind of just like the essence of Buffy and nothing else?
Yes.
Look at the kid up there.
Yeah.
I know.
It was actually funny because I remember at the time I was working 2 projects at once. I was doing a project in Australia and Buffy at the same time, and Joss said, I have this great idea that we could do while you're doing both. We're gonna make you play a second character. And I was like, aha. And then I realized he was actually serious. But I think, again, it's what keeps it fresh. You know, you're playing character for so long, and you know, we said you don't want to get lazy. You find yourself relying on certain things. So by taking away all the other parts of Buffy, I did have to find exactly the essence of her again. And you know, it was fun to be his slave for a little bit.
I'm a good master for a little while.
I thought you were looking at me.
No, that was James.
I'm like, hell, when did that happen? Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I'm afraid the next question is going to have to be the last one.
Uh-oh. Better make it good. There's
Who's
a
got a really good one?
Hi.
Oh, this girl. Okay.
Okay, well, actually, I don't even have a question because I don't question anything you guys do on the show. It's
Well, that's
pure
great.
genius. Joss, like, I have to thank you so much. Sarah, like, you are amazing. You guys, the show is just like an inspiration. It's amazing. It's everything of what I am today, and I just need to thank you guys for being so talented, and it's amazing. And Robot Chicken is my favorite show, too. Great show.
Because if you're for real, I got Matt Senrice and the whole Robot Chicken crew. Matt, you guys
Well, you guys too. So just thank you guys. You're all just absolutely amazing, and I'm so thankful to be in this room today with you guys.
Thank you.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
And one last thing before we go, I just want to get a sense of what everyone is up to now. Because you just came back from Mexico City, so give us an update on what's going on, and then we'll clear the room. And
Okay, well, I literally drove here from wrapping a shooting on a little independent short of my own called Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog, which is my next musical, starring Neil Patrick Harris, Nathan Fillion, and Felicia Day. And it's going to come out somewhere at some point. Possibly on a computer. We haven't figured that part out yet, but it's awesome.
I just got back from Africa, where I was working for the charity that I work for, CARE. And next month, I'm going to start an adaptation of Veronica Decides to Die, Paulo Coelho's. Excited?
I'm writing and I'm acting. And finding peace at the same time.
I just got off of shooting Dragon Ball, which is the first of Dragon Ball Z. And playing Piccolo. and getting my ass roundly kicked. I'm very sore. And Smallville, Torchwood. Which rocks. Thank you. Torchwood is making all the right people angry. Love that. I'm a bit of a subversive, so I really like pissing people off for the right reason. That's about it, I think. Music? Yes. I just released an album, and
they know better than you do.
Yeah, I know.
Easy.
And it was like I finally got to work with like really good musicians. And at first I thought that would feel really good to work with really good musicians. Like I got to work with Ben Peeler, who was the guitarist for Wallflowers, and he was so good. He made me feel like an idiot, man. I'm so in the beginning of this whole music thing, and I probably will always be. I don't know. It was both exhilarating and depressing to really come to terms with the fact that I chose to be an actor, and I'm behind the curve. When I'm hanging with someone like Ben, it's all over the room. I am an amateur in that, but it's still I keep trying.
Which I just realized, we just were like, oh my God, you were there too? Recently got back from Africa as well. And I'm planning on going back next year. Different organization than Sarah.
Fight!
But I'm very curious to hear about her organization, because it sounds very interesting as well. And I have 2 movies coming out this year, which I'm going to start promoting soon, so I'm happy about that. And I'm married, so there.
Sorry, boys.
And girls.
Good point. I just wrapped 17 again with Zac Efron and Matthew Perry and Leslie Mann, so that'll be coming out later this summer. I also have Kids in America with Topher Grace and Anna Faris, where I play a crazy goth chick. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but I'm about to do a guest star on Gossip Girl. I get to be a bitch. Yeah, that's right. I cursed on stage. I'm over 18 now. It's cool.
I continue my acting in Joss. I have a really, what I think is a key role in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. And I am wearing underpants this time, so I'm moving up in the world. It's good. I'm working on the Grey's Anatomy spin-off still. I'm developing some new television programs, hopefully one that actually has my name on it. And I'm actually getting ready to direct a movie, so I'm going to ask Josh to do it for me.
Charisma and I are actually producing a series of fitness videos. We're going to try and combine the key elements of Taibo and the aerobic stripping. So it'll sort of be like a sexy fight exercise thing, keep you really toned, concentration on the core.
It's good.
Cardio is key.
Baby and,
yeah, she looks fantastic, doesn't she? I'm just saying, with this program, you can have a kid. We'll whip you right back into shape with our fun, aggressive fight stylings.
And you think we're kidding?
No, I'm dead serious.
Dead serious.
All right.
Hopefully July. We're trying to get them out in July.
It did. I answered.
You did, okay. Okay, can I come play?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I need
We're going to build a studio in Ventura.
Getting a little flabby.
You'd be good, perfect for a photo.
Yeah. I'm the before and Chris
Plus,
is the after.
it helps you defend yourself in public, if ever. I mean, the situation comes up, you're like, oh my gosh, that's stripping fighting.
Like earlier. Like earlier when
right?
you
could have needed it. You could have used it.
Okay, yeah.
We don't have a name for it yet, but the working title is Seth and Charisma's
I'm
Fitness
down.
Videos.
Do I have to say what I'm doing now? Yes. All right.
You can say you're editing our videos if you want.
I'm editing their. I am. I'm editing their videos.
I've never seen a more skilled Avid operator.
Final Cut Pro people. No, I sold a series of chicklet fantasy novels to Penguin, so I'm writing books.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I can boss them around and they don't talk back. It's nice.
A series of very well-timed nervous breakdowns have driven me out of the business altogether. And I'm very happy in my hermitage. But if that phone rings and it's Mr. Whedon's voice, I'll come back.
thank this amazing panel for making this historic night happen, and for all of you to be showing so much love to this wonderful show here. So thanks so much to the panel, to the audience, and good night. Thanks.